I went to college basically to hopefully earn a scholarship. I played college football just for the experience. I mean, what else are you gonna do? It seemed like a good way to meet girls or something like that.
It was a cold winter night, and my friend had come to visit me, and we were headed to a basketball game, and it was freezing cold. We were walking, and so we stuck out our thumbs, and Jay picked us up hitchhiking.
I always joked with them that when I moved to college, oh, don't worry, I won't meet anyone hitchhiking. I won't get into any stranger's car like you guys did. Who meets their spouse hitchhiking? Like, it's just such a unique, funny story, but it's perfect to them.
Jay Hill and I started coaching in college at the same time. He just had finished playing at the University of Utah. He spent some time with the Buffalo Bills, got released. So he came back to University of Utah.
So Jay coached at the University of Utah for 13 seasons and was a graduate assistant under Coach McBride and Coach Meyer. When Coach Whittingham became the head coach, he hired Jay as a full-time coach, and that was his first full-time position. And we owe a lot to Coach Whittingham for that opportunity.
God puts weird things in your path, and we just really embrace those opportunities. And once you take them, you got to make the best of them, because you can't now look back and say, oh, I screwed up.
I think one thing I have always really admired about my dad is how much of a spiritual guy he is and how much of a relationship he has with his Heavenly Father. Because in every decision he's made, whether that's in football or just in life in general, he is so conscious to take into account the personal revelation that he receives. And every decision that he's made is completely guided by the Lord.
So Jay saw an opportunity, and Weber State was looking for a head coach. It was a significant pay cut. It didn't make sense on paper. A lot of people wondered if he was committing career suicide by going from the FBS level to FCS level. But we could not deny that it was the right next step.
And we took over this team thinking we were going to be one-year wonders, and we were going to flip it around, and we were going to be great. And when we got into it, there was a lot more to that program than I originally knew and anticipated. There was some academic issues going on. There were some team culture issues going on. I was the fourth head coach in 4 years, and they weren't winning, but got behind it and went there. And bottom line, first year was not good. Started 0-9. I was in my office late one night, and Sara had been talking about for like 6 months that she had had some pain in her pectoral area, and it just wasn't getting better. And they attributed it to a torn pec when she was doing CrossFit, but it wasn't getting better. So anyway, she went for a biopsy just to make sure that nothing was there.
I show up often to his office, but I don't show up late nights during fall camp. And I shut the door behind me, and he knew something was wrong.
So we talked for 10 or 15 minutes, and then I remember vividly walking into the staff room, because all my coaches were waiting in the room next door, because we were going to talk about practice for the following day.
And he said, well, can we move it here? And they're like, no, we got to do this and this. He's like, well, can we move it here? Well, no, we got to do this and this. And it just wasn't working for him to quietly just move things around and slip out and go to this appointment. So he finally had to say, close the door. And he got very emotional and said, guys, Sara was diagnosed with cancer. Hodgkin's lymphoma, it was stage 4, and we have doctor's appointments. And it's a tribute to him for creating a staff that can run on their own. And they said, you go. We've got this handled.
Those were difficult times, and you could just see slowly that from treatment to treatment to treatment, it was just starting to take its toll on her physically, on her health. She lost her hair, and she was just an absolute warrior. I will say the football side of things got difficult, because I mentioned before, we were playing Utah State. We thought we were going to win. We went up there and played horrible and got cremated our first game. And then the next week, we rebound, and we're up 21-0 in the first quarter against South Dakota. And then they come roaring back, tie the game right at the end of the game, and we lose in overtime. So now it's your wife has cancer, you're 0-2, and you're at a real dilemma in life as to how you're gonna handle it. I remember one morning I was in my office super early all by myself, and I came across a thing, it's called The Strangest Secret. I listened to it, and it basically said, you gotta trust God, you gotta come up with a goal that you really wanna obtain, and then you're gonna write down 20 things every day that you're gonna do to reach these goals. I was gonna live my life in a way that God was gonna be happy with the way I was living it so that he could bless my wife because I couldn't heal her cancer. And then the second goal was we were gonna make it to the FCS playoffs.
When you talk about true love, that's what I see in my parents. That was very apparent when my mom was going through cancer. I mean, from my dad going to her chemo treatments, to him going and visiting her during her bone marrow transplant, to my mom coming to every single one of his games, and to being there in the stands cheering him on.
And that's what's so beautiful about a marriage is you can go through the same thing in the same house with the same people around you, but have two completely different experiences. And it was beautiful to watch him grow through what we were going through.
It's just the clarity that kicked in and the things that started to occur. We win our next 3 games and we're on a path to really playing good. And by the end of the season, we make it to the FCS playoffs and Sara gets through her treatments, and it was one of those tender mercies you see in life again.
You'd like to not have any resistance or adversity along the way, but when that happens, you want to circle the wagons, and it was cool to see him be able to do that by example.
It was something that taught me a lesson that no matter what goes on in your life, you can have that work-family balance. He loves his family, they are his number one priority, and he just happens to be a heck of a football coach as well.
I feel so grateful every day that I get to not only learn from his example, but my mom's too, because they truly are the perfect pair and the best parents that anyone could ask for.